Hello everybody, my name is Bragster and welcome to the introduction of a brand new series. I know, I haven't got enough series going on at the moment, so I've decided to add more. This one is a classic series, a Can I Do It Better series. Now, I said at the start of the Euros that wherever England ended up, I would do a Can I Do It Better series. England made it to the final, so I have to try and do it better. I'm going to have to try and win the entire Euros. I can't believe I'm having to do this. I thought I was only going to have to get to like the quarterfinals or something, and then I've done it better. No, I'm going to have to win the bloody thing. I get one shot. That is a rule. I get one shot at this. I also pick my own squad, which isn't the same as the actual squad, so we'll get to that in a minute. And yeah, I get free reign. I can do what I want. I get my own squad. I get to see if I was manager, would I do it better? Could I do it better? Could I do it better than Southgate? Let's see. Let's see. But before we get to any games, before we get to any friendly matches or anything like that, we have to go through the squad. This is the first episode. It's the introductory episode. Let's find out what my Euro 2020 squad would be. And then we'll cut to the graphic now. There you go. So, as you can see, this is an Excel spreadsheet. It is also a screenshotted Excel spreadsheet because no matter how many times I click, it changes nothing. So we'll look at the goalkeepers first. So anyone that is in grey was injured and could not compete at the Euros, which is why certain players won't be picked. There may be a few players that I've added in here that you're like, well, they were never in the question to get into the Euros. That's quite simply to rest the cases of many people's heads. So Henderson had to pull out, Pope had to pull out, which meant that it had to be, and even Southgate's hands were tied here, has to be Pickford, Ramsdale and Johnston as our three goalkeepers. Pickford, Ramsdale, Johnston. My hands were tied. Then we go to centre-backs. Now, centre-backs were a tough one. We'll get to right-backs in a minute, which will explain maybe a bit more of my centre-back options. So if you look at it here, Reds were never in the question for me, although I'll get to the right-backs and I'll tell you what mistake I made there when it comes to the colour coding. But red not usually means not in the question for me, not happening. Yellow means on the cusp, you know, if there was an injury or I needed an extra position to be filled, then I'd add one of those in. And green is they are in the squad. I'm going to stick to the fact that Maguire missed the first two matches, but he's in my squad. So we're going to have our centre-backs are going to be Maguire, Stones, Mings and Connor Cody. Some people didn't like the addition of Connor Cody into the squad to start off with, but I do like Connor Cody. I like the fact that he can play in a 3 at the back. He can also play in a 2 at the back and has experience in both. So, you know, he's in there for me. White, Godfrey and Konza I feel like are unlucky to miss out. Konza is arguably, for some people, the better English centre-back out of the two of Mings and Konza. But Mings, I think, is left-footed, which is why you would probably side on the side of Mings. But those are my 4 centre-backs. I know 4 centre-backs, is that enough? That's where it comes to our right-backs. So when it comes to right-backs, we have greyed out Lamptey and Trent. I'm 90% sure that Lamptey was injured. He wouldn't have been in the question anyway, but I felt like he had a good season. He deserved, especially as a youngster, to maybe be in the question of maybe getting called up because it is a 26-man squad, not a 23. Just for the experience factor. Trent was injured, unfortunately injured before the tournament in the pre-games, so I can't actually call up Trent. The thing is with Trent, though, I would have called him up. Controversially to some people, but I would have called him up. James is my accidental red. I was meant to put him in yellow, but when I clicked on the thing at the top, I think it must have been red at the time when I was just trying to colour code it all for my own sanity. And Reece James, I accidentally put in red. He was meant to be put in yellow. But that means that my 3 right backs are Walker, Trippier, and Wan-Bissaka. I know, so Wan-Bissaka, eh? Wan-Bissaka. Now, personally, I would have loved Trent and Wan-Bissaka to be in there. I feel like they are perfect parallels from each other. Maybe that would then mean that Trippier wouldn't get in. I don't really know. Luckily, that Trent injury meant that I didn't have to make some tough decisions there. But Walker, Trippier and Wan-Bissaka, with Walker being able to play centre-back as well in a back 3 if I want to play a back 3. So yeah, pretty easy there. Talking of easy, left backs were quite obvious. Jamal Lewis and I think it's Jamal Lewis and Bertrand were never in the question for me. I seem to have made a mistake here. I've put Jamal Lewis on the thing, but he's not English. I must have got my sources. I don't know what my source was when I did this. This was like a few days ago now. I don't know what my source was when it came to Jamal Lewis possibly being in the England squad. I did click on multiple things to try and look at who could go in. Somewhere must have spoken about Jamal Lewis. I don't know why I put him in there, but it's a good job he's in red anyway, isn't it? Bertrand was another one that you could argue, but was never in the question for me. Shaw and Chilwell were the obvious 2. They were obviously going to be in the squad. No questions asked. Let's move on. Let's look at centre mids. So, when it comes to centre mids, I picked all of them. Controversially, I picked all of them. I picked Henderson, but he has to miss the first 2 matches. Phillips, Rice has to be in there. Phillips and Rice have to be in there. Bellingham has to be in there for me. Jude as a Brummie. It's great to see Jude in there. And Ward-Prowse. Now, Ward-Prowse was one of those who was controversially left out of the squad. I would include him for his free kicks and his corner taking ability. Now, you could argue that Trippier is that exact person. For me, Ward-Prowse is 10 times better. It's a no contest between Ward-Prowse and Trippier as to who's better at free kicks. Now, you could argue maybe to put Reece James in if you're not going to have Trippier's free kicks. But I felt like having Trippier as an option for left back as well, or left wing back, is useful. So I've managed to squirm my way through that. But yeah, that means that 5 centre midfielders will be going for me personally. Then attacking midfielders. This is where I'm going to get some stick. So I'm taking Mount, Saka, Grealish, Foden, Sancho, Sterling. Greenwood was unfortunately injured. I'm not taking Rashford. Lingard and Maddison also aren't going. They're in red. They were never in the question. I'm not taking Rashford because I don't know what Rashford's best position is. And when I don't know what Rashford's best position is, then when I get a choice to bring people off the bench, what is Rashford's strength? Like, in a squad, like for Man United, he's amazing. For club football, he's brilliant. But for international football, I don't know where his best position is. So how am I meant to bring him off the bench? How am I meant to start him if I don't know where to play him? Versatility is a good thing in players. It can also be a hindrance. For Saka, it's beneficial. For Saka, it is purely beneficial to have his versatility because he can play on that right hand side of wing, he can play on that left hand side, and he can also play at left wing back. He's played the wing back roles a few times before. But in my head, I know that right winger role is his position, and he can play everywhere else if you want him to. Similar to Sterling. Sterling is better on the left-hand side, but he can play the right-hand side if you want him to, and even play up front as a false 9. Rashford, I don't know where his best position is. Now, where is it with Greenwood? I actually think his best position is a striker. I've had a few conversations with Man United fans who have said that his best position is a right winger, but in my head I know he's one of those two, and I know he can perform those great, and for me personally he'd be a striker. Rashford, I just don't know where he'd go, so he's not in the squad because I don't want to give myself a headache. That's why he's not in the squad. It's not happening. Sorry, United fans, you got Wan-Bissaka earlier, you're getting rid of Rashford. I'm sorry. Let's look at the strikers. The creme of the creme, the top of the team. Kane is an obvious one. He's obviously in the squad. Then you've got DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, had to be in the squad after his season. And he also plays very similarly to Kane. Like, some people would argue that, you know, one's better at headering and one's better at his feet. But build-wise and the way they play, the way they like to play is quite similar. They don't like to play off that back line as much. They like to drop in a little bit and help out the midfield a bit more, which is why I brought Danny Ings. I'm gonna get abused in the comment section for all of this team, but I think it can win the Euros. Danny Ings, for me, plays off the back line. He is a perfect, like, poacher, advance forward. He's got those traits. He's got that desire to just run at players and just go on the pitch to score. He doesn't want to do any of the fancy stuff. He just wants to put the ball in the back of the net. That's what I love about Danny Ings. And I feel like it is something that England were missing in the Euros. Now, for the way Southgate plays, maybe not. Maybe we didn't miss it. But the way I like to play, it's something that we would be missing. If I didn't bring Danny Ings, it would be that poacher just to come on. Last 10 minutes, we need a goal. On comes Danny Ings. And every time he gets a chance, you believe he'll score. That's my belief with Danny Ings. Watkins was never in the question for me. I don't know how he made the provisional squad over... I think Bamford didn't make the provisional squad. He likes Watkins, and I like Watkins, but Bamford's had a better season. Bamford was in better form, and Bamford did it over the whole season as well, and I think he was the highest scoring Englishman below Kane or something like that, was one of the stats I saw before the Euros. For me, he was in the question. He should have been in that provisional squad. You know, maybe the Yellows were probably provisional squad-ish players like that. You know, maybe with Reece James in there, so you're looking at like the likes of Bamford, Rashford, Reece James, White and Godfrey maybe as, you know, your 5 that are in that provisional squad but eventually miss out. Something like that is probably the best way for you to visualise it. But Bamford was close for me, but Danny Ings just tipped it just because he's different. I feel like Bamford's not as different to the other two as I need a third striker to be. Because if I want a like-for-like replacement for Kane, let's say Kane gets injured, perfect, on comes Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But if I want to change up the game, if I want something to be different, on comes Danny Ings. That's what I need. I need a Danny Ings in my team. So that is my squad. That is my 26-man squad. This is the squad I've got to win the Euros with. So to recap, my goalkeepers are Pickford, Ramsdale and Johnston. My centre-backs are Maguire, Stones, Mings and Connor Cody. My right-backs are Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. My left-backs are Luke Shaw and Ben Chilwell. My centre midfielders are Jordan Henderson, Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, James Ward-Prowse and Jude Bellingham. My attacking midfielders are Mason Mount, Bukayo Saka, I nearly forgot his first name there, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling. And then my 3 strikers are Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Danny Ings. I've got to win the Euros. If you're excited for this series, make sure to hit that like button. Comment down below. Is this squad good enough? Number 1, is this squad good enough? Number 2, would you have picked this squad? Is this a better squad than what you got than Southgate's? Is this a worse squad than Southgate's? Obviously, you've got to think what you would have thought before the Euros. I tried to not take too many of the performances into account. Maybe Saka's performances might have influenced me over Rashford. Maybe. Yeah, just put those down in the comments down below. If you're new here, please do subscribe so you do not miss an episode. And check out all of my other content on the channel. I've got a lot of football content coming out at the moment for some reason. Probably because of the Euros. But so check all that out if you're into that. And I shall see all of you in the next video. See ya!